What is good? In this video, we have an exciting topic. We have an exciting speaker that I got to connect with. So we are talking with the GOAT, Serge Gatari, on how he was able to scale his done with you, done for you program from, I reckon when I first started connecting with Serge was like a year and a half ago. The interesting story here is we actually shared a closer, and this particular closer ghosted both of us. So we spent a good deal of time training this person up, getting them situated in our companies, and then this closer disappeared. And just a little side note on this guy, he did the same thing to multiple companies after that. So guys, don't ghost. It's you want to communicate with your company. That being said, that's when I first connected with Serge, and he was really, I think, at the 20 to 30K mark. And what was so interesting even at that point was I was super stressed out about this closer going AWOL, and I messaged Serge and I said, you know, what's the deal? Like, what has he done on your side? And he just didn't care. He's like, I guess he's just a ghost, and then laughed it off. And that, you know, impacted on me because I realized that, you know, the mentality that Serge has is just like, he doesn't care, which is a good thing because it means that you're able to take on risk and push forward and nothing phases you. And actually, when I was thinking about doing this video, I remember that conversation that I had with Serge, and I know this person is fairly unpopular. I read this book, The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, and one of the biggest things that he talked about, let me just turn off these notifications. One of the biggest things that he talked about was like, just don't get too stressed about stuff. Like if something doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. The next thing will work out. And Serge has that same quality. So that being said, I got Serge's permission to show this consult call. And in this consult call, I really wanted to know how he was able to go from when I spoke with him initially, you know, at 20 to 30K per month when I was chatting with him, go from that. And I remember it was about August in 2022, and he posted a screenshot. He had made 100K in a month. And I went, dang, this guy is growing quickly. And then come December, he scaled to 500K. Now, if someone gets results like that, you pay attention, right? So that's why I scheduled the call. Apart from that too, Serge is a very cool dude. Like, he's an easygoing guy. A lot of people like his content because he's just like a sort of a good personality. So I wanted to tap into like what his thoughts were at content as well. So that being said, here's the consult call I had with him. It's not the full consult call, but it's more the highlights of that call. So hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side.
What
Thanks.
I want to do, right? Because I don't want to go down as the most successful entrepreneur. I just want to go down as the most special person in whatever thing I did, right? So it's super important not just to just get into this game of copying people, like without really being conscious of what you're doing, right? A lot of people will be like, oh, maybe this done with you model is the right way. Maybe it's done for you. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's selling a course, but not really realizing that, like, no, it's your confirmation bias of you trying to do what this other guy is doing that's leading you to doing it. And then you're coming up with reasons as to why this model is better. But I promise you that if you had someone you're looking up to who scaled a done for you $1 billion company, you would come out with more reasons as to why you should have done for you versus done with you. But anyway, so yeah, no. So that's that. That's just my thought. That was just something on my mind.
No, it's just interesting because I come from like a fairly advertising heavy background, and I've just seen like how, like, if I can, do you mind if I ask you some specific questions?
Please. This is your call, man. I'd love for you to ask any question. Just ask a bunch of them too.
Yeah. So, like, I guess, what do you think was because I remember seeing I think it was like August last year. I think you hit like 100K in the business. What do you think was like the biggest transition from like doing that 100K whenever that was to, like, you know, growing to where you got to like at the end of last year, or even like the end of whenever you sort of got that massive massive
Yeah,
month. Like what was that trend? Like what were the mechanics of what you actually did to do that?
to have, yeah, okay, so it's two things, and that's a good question. So one of the things that so the first thing is I understood that like you can't make a lot of 1 second, give me a second, I'll just do something real quick. Computer switch. All right, cool. That's good. So so first things first, I realized that like direct to response is not the way. Like just your ability to just spend money to acquire a client or spend energy to acquire a client is not really how you build sustainable wealth, and a lot of it. So I realized that like, and you can look at a lot of people, man. Look at everybody who comes in our space. There's nobody who stays in this direct response market for long enough, right? Look at Hormozy. He came in and he was like, hey, I figured out how to spend $1 to make $36 back. So why would someone like that stop spending $1 to make $36 back? Right? That's pretty fascinating, right? Because he realized that the goal is to get infinite returns. The goal is not for you to get an ROI. The goal is for people to ask you like, hey, how much money did you spend to make money? And it's like, hey, I don't even know because I didn't spend any. Right? So that's the first thing. So I really went heavy on content because, man, even till today, I'll look at people doing way more money than me and I'll literally be pissed. I'll be like, what the fuck, man? I know they're doing less than me. I know their product is shittier than mine. I know I have a bigger team. I spend more on payroll than they are, but they're making more. And the common theme was they all are known, they have attention, and they own the attention. If you look at the last 2 years, I've put out over 350 videos. That's a video every 2 days, right? Man, that shit compounds like nothing else. Right? That was the first thing. And the second thing was probably, I started realizing like, okay, now it's really like we got to create communities, right? So now when you have the attention, it's still on someone else's platform, right? But how can you turn it into your own, where every time you want to make a sale, you don't always have to pay someone else to get the revenue, right? So I started focusing heavy on like making sure that every single lead that comes through, creating assets, and then putting into in a community where people can come consume it. But it might still be on Facebook, but it's still my community, right? And I would just have, the third thing is just have growth specialists who are going in and actually having conversations every day, leading people, giving people the right answers, and offering people to jump on a call, right? I'm sure you see how many times I message you on my profile on Messenger. It's not necessarily me, but it's happening regardless, right? That's something that you can't overlook. Because I generally think that the reason why we did the money we're doing is not necessarily just because I have the biggest audience, but it's because with the audience we have, we're also really good at monetizing it and converting it and creating an offer where it's like a no-brainer for people who are in our audience. And the fourth is leveraging trends. If you leverage trends is probably like, I would say top 2, like over attention. I even think that if you leverage trends, you're going to get attention. Never, but leveraging trends might be number 1. The month, because I mean, beginning of January of 2022, we did 50K, literally did 50, 60K cash. 12 months later, we did over 500K a month. But the big spike came in April to May, where we started solving for the offer problem, right? We started giving people the right offer. And what happened is that the way we give people offers is we looked at our current campaigns, right? We looked at all our clients in our company's assets and outreach, and then we realized like, okay, this person is seeing wins faster than most people. And I didn't do this back in the day, but I started, looking at YouTube videos and started looking at, okay, what are the top videos that are coming out based on specific new mechanisms, right? TikTok back in the day was really good. So I was like, fuck, this shit, people are looking it up. Let me get a lot of my clients to um, to use the thing that people are searching for, right? I started getting them to leverage trends, and I think, Amar was our first case study. He went from 0 to 60K a month in like 7 weeks because of TikTok. It wasn't because our outreach methods were so good. It wasn't because anything was good. It's because he started selling the drug that people were looking for.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then we did that again in later last year, where we started pushing short form, right? Boom. And then we went from like to 340K. It's also pretty insane.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with your growth specialists, do you have like a process? Like what is like the overall process that you use for them to, like, because you got like multiple channels, right? So you got Twitter, you're doing like 2 steps on Twitter. You've got like Facebook, you've got your like Discord thing. Like, how do you make sense of the activity that your growth specialist needs to be doing, and like what are the KPIs and that type of stuff?
I mean, first things first is you need to be able to create something that at scale, right? So I think rule number one is get familiar with creating content that solves the main problem for your niche. Because the issue with outreach, a lot of people try to do outreach. The reason why they fail is because they don't give anything first, right? So the reason why I consistently do 2 steps is because I'm actually just giving people the solution to their problem. Once they do that, they raise their hands, then my growth team goes in and actually starts prospecting, right? Now their KPIs, I think at least the ones that we've noticed as standards is they need to be doing at least 100 new touch points every day, potentially per profile if it's possible, right? But each GS 100 new outreaches, and the goal is that you need to be at least hitting at least 25 conversations or more per day, right? So out of that 100, expect to get 25 people. If you don't have 25 conversations per day, you're not going to get any meeting booked that day. And then the other one is like, don't do less than like 50 to 100 outreach follow-ups again. If people don't do these numbers, they don't hit their numbers. They don't hit their KPIs and their goals, right? So, but then if I was not doing outbound and creating sales assets, would they really be seeing as much success? No.
So with those guys, do you have like a booking KPI, like how many bookings you need each of these guys to bring on and things like that?
I mean, so we look at 2 things. We look at the booked calls and we look at qualified calls. So the way that I do it is, a goal is like, even if you're booking less than 20 meetings a week, you're not going to make any money, because the GSs are not incentivized on booked calls. They're qualified. They're incentivized on qualified booked calls that show up. So I pay $100 Canadian, up to $150 Canadian per qualified booked call. So that means that even if they book me 100 calls, I'm still going to pay 10 grand for that. I'm just going to pay, okay, out of 100 calls, how many were qualified? Oh, 50 were qualified. Cool. Then it's going to cost me 5 grand, right? And that way, that kind of like mitigates the downside, meaning I can't really lose up until I make money before I lose, right? Because if I get 10 qualified calls on a call, then I'm going to inevitably make money for the company, right?
Yeah.
Because every 10, you're going to get at least 1 deal or 3 or potentially even fucking 6 deals, right?
Yeah.
That most people don't set up their incentive structure properly. They pay people based on qualified calls, just general.
Yeah.
But it's like paying someone per lead. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, our process is really simple, man. Start conversation, maybe give someone something. If you don't have a sales asset and you're just doing cold outbound, then ask them questions about what they're currently doing, how they're going about solving a specific thing, right? Or if it's possible. Nobody, and I want to say nobody, will ever tell you no if you offer to share them a video on how you solve that problem or a 15-minute walkthrough of how you would solve it in their company, right? Now, does it mean that you can actually solve the problem? No, not really, because the only thing that solves quality problems is just more leads, right? You just get more people in the funnel, and then you get more qualified people, right? But if I was you, if I was doing outbound, if I was doing paid ads, paid acquisition, one strategy that I got from Jeremy Haynes is using content as the actual, like getting people who
As the
opted in
exchange.
to, like, let's say like you put up one video, one short, 1 minute video that introduces the person. As if they get 15 seconds to whoever goes through the through play, you retarget them with another piece of content. Through play again, you target them with another piece of content. Through play again, another content, and then you retarget them at the end with the offer. That way, because these people are so warmed up that they're not necessarily financially ready, they'll still make sense of spending money. So it kind of like inevitably increases the qualification rate in a way.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
So these growth specialists, like, are these folks that you get from like the US, or are they like virtual assistants, or like what do they typically look like?
GSs are people who've gone through the same courses as I've gone through, to be honest. There are people who are entrepreneurs, who are people who want more, right? They're not VAs, because you want them to be, you want them creative. You can't just have them, you can't feed them. They got to be able to go hunt. They got to be able to generate attention. They have to be able to conversate, and they have to be able to convert and potentially create sales assets. Right? So these are they're essentially leaders, but they're just leading their own, they're trying to get food and hunt for the day so they can generate attention for the main company, because they're also going to eat well based on what they kill.
So do you get them to do like outbound calls and things like that, or is it mainly like doing outreach on socials?
Mainly socials, because one thing I've realized is I don't like because calls it takes a different type of training, man. Because the mentality and the sustainability of an employee who does sales over the phone and does outbound calls, the churn is so high, right? So I try to get them to do things that are sustainable. I don't want them to do something that I personally wouldn't do myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like if you were to say like, all right, we got new growth specialists starting at Serge's company, I want you to focus like 10% of your time on Twitter. I want you to then be like messaging people on Facebook groups. Like what would the SOP look like for, like, you know, what a growth specialist does every day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting out, so it depends on what stages. It depends if you already have good audience on different platforms. I wouldn't necessarily get a GS on Twitter right away.
Yeah.
As an example, it's not, because you kind of need some traction to have it work really well. First things first, I would start on Facebook. I think Facebook communities is probably the easiest way. You just give them 5 to 10 groups, or show them how to find them, and just literally say, hey, go message 100, 200, 300 people. If they have to use their own profile, perfect. Well, most of my GSs have to use their own profile anyway, if they're starting up, but they also get access to my profile. First things first, start with where it's easier to find people. And then the next thing you want to do is then get familiar with creating content. That's the second thing. But it's like content comes later, right? For me, so right now it's like do outbound, generate a bunch of interest, and then start conversating with people. So there's like a flow where it's like we have a conversation flow where it's like you create context, familiarity, you get people comfortable answering questions, and then you ask them about how they're dealing with the biggest pain. So let's say for us, is a lot of the time is like, how do you book appointments? For you, may be different. And then you would want to have like an education step in that conversation where you're like, hey, oh, by the way, we've really noticed that doing this and following this framework actually achieves better results much faster. and it has worked recently for a client of ours. And then you'll gauge the interest, and then if the prospect is interested, then you'll be like, cool, would you like to have a 15-minute walkthrough, or is it cool for me to send you a quick video going over how we actually solve this problem, right?
Yeah.
But we try to go for the book walk, because it's just easier thing instead of delaying the sales process by videos and things like that. Now you need to send them videos, because afterwards they're not going to just buy off of that first call. So the goal is, like, as soon as they show interest, then also send them a video so they can be educated before the call.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's like a good opener? Like, what sort of openers do you guys use to generate these conversations? Like, to just add them as a friend and say,
yeah. Isaiah, do you have a good one?
Would I be wrong to assume one?
Yeah. Okay. So one of them is like, hey, would I be wrong to assume that you're running a high ticket coaching business, right? Kind of like, you want to bring. So this is the thing, right? So I don't know if you watched some of this where I talk about this stuff, but so there are 3 levels of the brain, right? There's the reptilian brain, there's the limbic, and then there's the neocortex. Most people start outreach and get people in the fight or flight mode, right? You want to stay away from that now. And there's only a few ways you can stay away from that. Either talk about something that only they would know, like in their industry, something that is really industry specific, or compliment them. There's no one that if I start, even if there's no great opener, I don't think that exists. I think, of course, you can get creative. Some people will have like openers that work, well, but they're cheesy and it gets annoying. But I think that the first things first is like compliment someone and be like, hey, would I be assumed, or be like, hey, I just read your post. It's really beautiful. I really like what you're doing. And just compliment someone, man. Because what that will do is that it will get them to feel like they're safe with you and that they can actually have a conversation. And it will move them down to their limbic and emotional brain. And then what you want to do before you pitch the call is you want to actually bring them down even to the neocortex, right? And the way you do that is by educating them, telling them a story, and giving them the answer to what they want, and just giving them the opportunity to get even more support on a one-on-one call, but it's actually a sales call.
So your growth specialist, like, how many bookings are they doing? Like, say, like, just like the average growth specialist, like how many calls would they book a day?
Oh man, I mean, it varies from like 1 to 10 a day.
1 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, so I have some who book 5 consistently a day. I have others who go through, on a crazy streak. Well, they'll be booking like 9, 10 calls a day.
And these are like basically like qualifying calls.
Yeah. So, well, right now we have like a triage discovery call, just to it's 15 minutes. Jump on, we gather, learn more about where you're at. And then we're like, okay, if you're qualified, cool, we'll just send you through with the closers. And then the closers actually walk you through what is it how we solve your problem and everything like that. If they're not qualified, then the discovery call taker will just give them the training and then let them go.
Yep. Okay. And so the other thing is too, where is like most of your bookings coming from in terms of like the platform and like the traffic? Like I know YouTube would support like everything because like it's just, constant. It feeds the whole beast. But like, where do you think most of the traffic flow through comes into your bookings?
40% come from organic, right? So like 40% of all our sales calls are coming in from YouTube, content, Twitter. Like not Twitter in the sense of like, but Twitter in like I'll make a post and people will book a call.
So that means they're not booked by a growth specialist. They're just coming in from.
From organic, my efforts, right? So like, it's just me. I write something or I create something, and then they just booking.
Yeah.
From that 40% is also like old webinars that I've done that I always just put out there just for people to check out. and then 60% is the GSs, right? So like 10%, one GS is like 10%, right? So like 10% of is coming from IG, another 10% is coming from Facebook, maybe 10-15% is coming from Facebook, another 10% is coming from like Twitter, and another one from like LinkedIn, but also from like webinar opt-in. So we'll actually also like go and reach out to people who've opted in, on our old trainings.
And you reach out to them through like phone call or email or
We'll do both. Well, not phone call, really, not now. We'll do WhatsApp messages,
Yep.
and then we'll do email, or we'll
What's
find it on social media.
Yeah. Okay, so you find that WhatsApp messages work fairly well.
Yeah, and that's not really something that I've personally like taught the team. I just think they've just started doing it. Even my closers go crazy on. They talk a lot with everybody on WhatsApp. I noticed that. So WhatsApp, I feel like everybody has that.
Yeah, that's cool because it creates a bit more, connection somehow.
Personal. Yeah.
So this growth specialist thing, do you have like a training that you could like our team could go into and do? Is that what the growth specialist is?
Well, so the way that I'm building GS.io is really to be that, and maybe I can give you a bit of background. So for me, I think that I can't be playing this appointment setting game. I think it's a commodity, right? So what I'm trying to do is, I'm sure you've seen, if you follow me, you probably follow other, especially if you're in the high ticket space, you probably follow guys like Bashan, Richard Yu, who are doing great, right? They're doing a mill, blah, 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 blah. But their whole model is they're just doing biz op on people, training people to become setters, right?
Yeah.
But the issue is, well, if setting becomes a trend, just like, let's say starting a Facebook ad agency was, then that means that like it's not as valuable as it was when it was actually crazy valuable skill, right? Now for me, I'm like, okay, well, let me just get ahead of the game and just make it literally commoditize the heck out of it. Meaning, let me create so many skilled people at it that charging $8,000 it should be stupid to do it, right? So I'm in the GS.io offer. I'm just sharing everything. Like generally, like probably I'm gonna be spending more time creating it on the level where, like, I think that the appointment setting flow is going to be better compared to our main program. And the reason to that is because the people going through that, I mean, I've started seeing people who are even clients in our main program are like sending in their GSs. We have other clients who are running businesses who are coming in, even though my mind was like set on like, let's just train people to become good growth specialists. But we're having other business owners come in. So my goal is, let me just solve the appointment setting problem for most people. For $500 a month for 4 months, you get it, cool. But your question is, do I have a training now?
So could I put my appointment setting in there to learn?
100%. Because I've always gotten people asking me questions like, hey, how do we do this? But it's like, I never really got to show people. So there's two versions. There's outbound, and then there is what we do. Because when you have a personal brand and you have an audience, it's not really outbound anymore. It's more like, it's inbound versus outbound. So it's like, but I didn't in my $500,000 program. I don't really have that because when I started the program, I wasn't necessarily in this position that I'm in today. So it's really purely mostly like cold type of approach within the main program. And of course, a little bit of leveraging audiences and that. But with this GS.io, I want to just showcase, yes, the outbound stuff, but also like the warm, like the like people who have personal audiences who are running high ticket offers. Like, hey, how do you go crazy on Twitter? Twitter has been, and I like the fact that you're mentioning Twitter a lot.
Dude, I get about 60 leads on Twitter a week. Like,
wow.
I get their phone numbers as well.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So do you like do steps and then put an opt-in with a phone?
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but
I never knew about Twitter. like 5 months ago, I did not know about this platform. I was like, when I got there, I was like, oh my God.
Dude, it's crazy. I love Twitter.
Yeah, so yeah, I've been going crazy on Twitter, and I think it's an amazing place. I think a lot of because coaching and agency, because I think Twitter is a lot more of agency. A lot of people in this more so like pushing services or pushing courses, but there's not a lot of like these high ticket coaching people there, right? If there are, they're selling low ticket stuff.
Yeah, I don't do I do both coaching and agency owners as well as our clients.
Nice.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, for sure, then that's an amazing pull for you, right? But I think that there will be a trend where, or at least I'd love to create a program where Twitter is one of the platforms I would scale, because I know that it's pretty easy to scale. I mean, it's not my biggest following base over any other platform. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, over Instagram, YouTube. It's like it just goes crazy. The virality there is just so good. It's just,
On Twitter.
What? Yeah, Twitter is just so good.
So how much is the growth specialist program?
It's $500 a month for 4 months. So 2K.
And so you said before that you want to make it ridiculous that other people are charging 8K for an appointment setting program. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. Because you can't. There's no point in trying to be. You can't be the second cheapest person. You just got to be. You either got to be the most expensive person, or you got to be the cheapest, where you play the customer base. Because I'm trying to build a bigger customer base versus like, oh, just care about how much money can I extract from the marketplace and make money, right? Yeah.
That's good thinking, because otherwise you just abuse your market and they hate you.
And these guys, like, I know a lot of people think that making a lot of money is the answer, but it's not. Like, it's about sustaining this shit, bro. Like, if you just come in and just want to fuck everyone, yeah, you can make millions, but are you going to make 20, 30, 50, 100 million? No, because by the time you hit that 10 mil, you will have fucked so many people that your brand is going to be fucked.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, they're making more money than me, so I'm not necessarily hating. Maybe I'm just making sense of why I'm not there yet. But I genuinely think that, I think it's real success takes time to think about it, man. Like, it's not just let me just start a program, let me spend money on shout outs and just let me pump as much people through it. It's like, no, you have to be methodical.
That's true. So how do you think about like going about creating content? Like, is it just like from conversations? Do you plan out your content much, or do you shoot from the hip more? Like, how do you sort of do it?
I try to do two things. I'll try to create content, because before my best source of content ideas was like sales calls. I used to jump on a sales call, someone would give me a stupid argument or objection, and I would just go on YouTube and I just fucking destroy their objection and make it seem like a dumb fucking thing to ever say again, right? And then so that's one, because I hate when people give me dumb objections and they think they're right?
Yeah.
Now the second thing is, which I don't do often, but I'll try to do, well, I know I should be doing more, is I try to look at what is the one or two topics that people want to hear about. Not say, because everybody's selfish, right? We always want to talk about the shit we care about. But if you do that, then you'll never really tap into a bigger audience. So what you should do is go on YouTube, find the top 3 people in your niche, look at the top 3 most viral videos. You should have created those videos, but not only that, you should be creating the same videos every single month.
So the same topic, just a different angle.
Just your perspective, yeah. Just like, find, like, if people care about appointments, talk about fucking appointments, man. Like, talk about it so much that it's like people are gonna be like, "What the hell is going on, man?" Like, because that's the thing that's gonna get you the organic reach, right? Like, the reason why I guess we're getting some reach is because I try to stick to the same shit. I don't talk about a lot, so I always get back to the same things, because I know that that's what really matters.
Yep. Yeah, that
So
makes
for me,
sense.
talk about what people are looking for and handle objections in your content.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's your retention rate with your GSs? Like, how do you, like, do you,
I'm bro, I'm not playing for that. I know a lot of people would be playing for that. Like, and I had that thought. It was such a crazy thing, and I'm still in the testing phase. I wouldn't say that it's always going to be like this. But
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I don't mean for your program. I mean for your like growth specialist on your team.
oh, okay. I mean, right now I actually have only 3 GSs, and they've all been with me for over, I would say, even like 8 months.
Yeah.
They've been with me for a minute now.
Yeah.
So, but I've gone through a lot though. In the last year and a half, I've gone through probably like over, I would say, even 50 GSs to find the 3 that will stick.
But how do you do
That's
that? How do you do that without wasting a whole bunch of time, like interviewing?
I do. Well, I did the last. So this is also because you need to build like a hiring system, right? Meaning, whenever I hire a GS, they don't actually go through. I don't even meet them, right? So the way that it works is, I'll show you briefly what it looks like. So on Notion, I have this training, outbound prospecting specialist training, and then these are like the things that they need before they start.
Yeah.
They've been on board on Discord, and make sure you have access to the Notion training. Make sure you have the tracking sheet. Make sure you have Go High Level. Make sure you have optimize your profiles. Make sure you have booked your first shadowing session with someone else. Added daily meetings to your calendar. Receive your personal booking link so you can track. Understand the KPIs. Understand the product. Find through Facebook groups to prospect in. Outreach starts in 24 hours after you've been onboarded, right? And then there is just more training material, right? So expectations. So all the materials like is a product is essentially like a content, right? And then after that, I'll give them 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to generate at least 7. I think it's 7 calls, right? Or 15. Okay, 15 calls in 2 weeks. If you don't hit that 15, you don't pass probation. You're out.
You don't hit 15 book calls in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're qualified calls, or they're just calls on the calendar?
No, I'm not. It's not, because 15 qualified calls would be a bit harder for someone new. 15 calls. Just get me 15 people who want to jump on a call in 2 weeks.
Yep. Okay.
Which 1 call a day. You know, if you're booking 2, 3, hit that in like 4 or 5 days. Should be enough.
And how many hours are they expected to work? Do you sort of just say do whatever it takes, whatever? Doesn't matter.
I let the superstars show off. Because you don't want to push people to work more than they want to work, right? You want people who are hungry for it.
Yeah, it's true.
Let the work qualify people instead of you adding qualification and being like, hey, you need to work at this time. Now, if they miss 2 calls a week, like let's say like growth team calls meeting, they're out. Also, like don't miss calls. Get me results. If you can't do that, then you're not. If you miss 1 call, like it's 30, 15 minutes, then you're probably not a good fit anyway.
So you host those sales meetings yourself?
Yeah.
So
but I've gone through periods where I don't do them.
Yeah.
But I'd rather still do them because it's like, I don't know, man. It just requires. I think the leader still needs to be involved, man. Like, I don't think people are like, oh, I remove myself. Yeah, right. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
So you do 2 15-minute sales meetings a week?
No, right now it's like maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Just 15 minutes, 11 a.m. We just meet up. Hey guys, how's everyone? It's not even crazy. Like it's not like
it's just to catch up.
Yeah, just catch up. Make sure people are present, and they know what the goal is, and then go back to it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart. So are these guys that come in and you're saying we want 15 calls in 2 weeks? Is that including using all of your like assets and things like that, like leveraging your stuff, or is it sort of like they have to build up things from scratch in a way?
They use their profiles because I don't have enough profiles for everybody. People get to use my profile. It's like it's not, it's something that you have to merit.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So what made you do the growth specialist thing instead of just getting, because we have a VA that gets us maybe 10 book calls from Instagram a week. Mm-hmm. Like why did you sort of move to working with a VA, working with a more sort of nuanced person who can have a more nuanced conversation versus just like having a VA that does it?
It's just easier to scale. It's easier. It's like, it's more efficient and it's easier to scale. Because VAs, they're just doing what you tell them to do. It's like if there's no inputs, there is no output, right? Or it will never be more than what you showed them, right? But GSs, they can just go on to mastering more than just what you taught them, right? Because they can think for themselves, and that's what you need. Because it's like, man, not having like just, it's not just about doing messaging. It's like, if that was the case, then everybody would be rich, right? It's like, it's the nuance that really changes everything. It's like the conversation is how you say it. It's educating people. It's like getting someone who's a bit more, on a fight mode, but you try to get them to relax and feel like, hey man, it's totally fine. Like, I'm just here to show you something real quick, right? So it's more about like the creativity beats the the value that you get from spending less money on a VA, right? So it's like, you want creativity, man. You want someone who can come up with potentially someone who can come up with better things than you can.
But the thing is, like, my thought process is, how do you actually get someone that sticks around?